Good afternoon. We are truly excited to be here today to talk to you about the evolution of chief marketing officers in a data-first world. My name is Naveen Asrani, and joining me are Anna Kung, CEO and co-founder of Perks Technologies, and Anindya Datta, Chairman and CEO of Mobilewala. Let's look at what we have in store for today's session. We will dwell on 100 years of marketing and how we got here, what our customers are telling us, their key marketing challenges and priorities, how will AI and data analytics shape tomorrow's customer experience, monetizing on customer actions in a mobile-first economy, maximizing marketing performance with consumer intelligence, and in closing, the CMO of tomorrow. Looking at the marketing landscape over the course of last 100 years is a nice way to get a grounding in the subject. John Wanamaker, a well-known merchant from the 19th century, said, "Half the money I spent on advertising is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half." That's really an interesting observation from over 100 years ago, where he's not able to attribute his marketing activities to sales. Fast forward 100 years later to the 2019 CMO survey, only 6 out of 10 CMOs could prove the effectiveness on ROI from their marketing activity. So in over 100 years, we've only improved by 10%. In the 1960s, the popularization of the 4 Ps of marketing, price, product, placement, and promotion, became the bedrock of marketing. In 2021, marketeers are operating in an omni-channel environment, where the customer experience in one channel informs the next, where we are delivering contextual, sequential, personalized experiences with marketing automation. Looking at 1994, when the first ever banner ad for AT&T was launched on what became Wired.com, and that banner achieved a click-through rate of 44%, which in itself, in today's standard, is quite astounding. People clearly were curious as to what this new thing was, and the experimentation that happened. The banner ad didn't have branding, and today we see marketeers spend over 80% of their marketing budget in digital channels. Based on a recent study, the role of the CMO is the shortest in the C-suite, with an average of only 2.7 years on. The reason behind that is the complexity and the environment that CMO is operating within. Over the last 20 years, CMOs had to adopt digital and marketing technology. Martech now has over 8,000 platforms and providers. It's an incredibly complex landscape. Add to that social media streaming, video, and content in addition to what the CMO always used to do, operating across traditional channels and agencies they manage, digital, branding, creative, media, and so on. The role of the CMO is very diverse, and there are a lot of stakeholders to manage. You combine that with the pressure of not being able to attribute ROI to activity, and you can understand where we are. Marketing is really seen by our customers as a growth engine for the business, as a revenue generation function, not as a cost center. And that's reflected in the budget. On average, 10.5% of a customer's annual budget is dedicated to marketing. Conversely, IT budget is 3%. 26% of that 10.5% is spent on Martech. 64% of CMOs report directly to the CEO, and 70% of CMOs control 100% of the e-commerce on digital strategy budget. What the CEO wants from the CMOs is to see corporate growth initiatives, want to see new plans for customer acquisition, leading to digital transformation initiatives. In the last 10 years, we have also seen the customer evolve. The proliferation of devices, social media, and diverse customer engagement platforms will see 75 billion connected endpoints online by 2025. The customer of 2021 will expect companies to know their individual needs and personalize their experiences. Their experiences and opinions will also be exponentially visible. And as customers are changing, we see businesses keeping pace with user expectation for greater customer experience, from mass messaging to personalization, siloed experience to connected experiences, customer engagement from forms to natural language experiences and conversational experiences, business content to user-driven content. Looking at some of the key challenges that CMOs are having, given the dramatic changes in the consumer behavior that have occurred in 2020. One is making sure that they're handling the customer consent, privacy, and permissions when they collect the first-party data from consumers and customers, and manage it and utilize disparate data types to improve marketing. An average CMO has 17 different customer-facing applications that touch a customer at some point within the customer journey, and about 24 disparate customer data points. And so bring these together in an actionable marketing data lake is a huge challenge for CMOs. The next key area is the ability to leverage their first-party data about their customers and then enrich that with partner second-party data as well as third-party data in order to build a unified profile of their customer, which allows them to make better investment decisions about which marketing campaigns and technologies they should be using to optimize those customer experiences. Another key challenge is having the right skills and expertise, which in an organization to able to leverage these technologies and data and insights in order to make right decisions. Lastly, we see a proliferation of data and channels and being able to manage those across channels. And the 8 key priorities are enhancing lifetime value of customers, improving customer acquisition quality and reducing cost, omnichannel orchestration for better personalized customer experience, extracting insights and value from the data, delivering ROI on Martech investments, customer satisfaction and retention, visibility of customer lifecycle. AWS has been a communications cloud provider for over a decade, starting with SES in 2011. Large customers like Reddit and Netflix trust AWS with customer connections. Communications integration into apps has only become more critical in a COVID world. As organizations scramble to make all forms of communications, audio, video, SMS, email, part of their customer experience, customers want communications in context. AWS has a robust offering across communication channels. Amazon SES for email, Amazon Pinpoint for SMS, Push and more, Amazon Chime SDK for audio, video, PSTN. Starting in 2021, we call this Communication Developer Services. Let's look at how will AI and data analytics shape tomorrow's customer experience. So from an AWS perspective, let's look at some of the technologies we can use to enable customer outcomes for marketeers. It really starts at the data layer and data lake. One of the outcomes of having a marketing data lake is better insights about customers and marketing spend. And so having the right advertising technology analytics in place is critical for CMOs when such a high percentage of their spend is on paid media. The other area that we see that's really relevant for our customers is really building a unified customer data platform with a unified view of the customer across sales, marketing, and service. And so we have a number of solutions that are AWS-based solutions, as well as AWS partner products that allow us to drive customer data platform and realize those for our customers. Ongoing personalization across your customer experience and customer journey is really high priority for marketeers. And so some of the technologies that we developed at Amazon.com that allow us to personalize recommendations to make the next best offer are available within AWS. And services like Amazon Pinpoint and Amazon Personalize are 2 examples of product that we have that allow for personalization. But if you look at messaging and campaign platforms that we have in Pinpoint, it allows marketeers to orchestrate messaging across both email, SMS, and push notifications, and to manage not only customer segmentation, but customer journey with AWS. One good example of a new solution that has been getting a lot of traction with the CMOs is the ability to extend customer experience to the call center through AWS Connect. Here is a visualization of the areas where AWS is helping marketeers we just spoke about. Generally, our goal with this slide is to show you what's possible and what you might not be aware that AWS is already doing today. Right from the data layer and marketing data lake at the foundation, AWS is helping marketeers ingest data from devices, campaigns, SaaS channels to digital customer experience. AWS provides you a host of services that can address how you can enhance your customer experience. Highlighted are a few key services. For example, in machine learning, we help customers with 18 ML services, including 5 which require minimal development skills and no prior machine learning to implement. And these can apply across customer experiences, including messaging, mobile, web, e-commerce, and smart products. We also have partners who are transforming how businesses engage and understand their customers and deliver marketing ROI. We have Anna Kung, CEO and founder of Perks Technologies, share her insights on monetizing customer actions in a mobile-first economy.
Thank you, Naveen. Good day, everyone. Here's a 20-second snapshot of what you can expect in the next 10 minutes. Where we look at the CMO's transformational journey from a different perspective, driven by the needs of each era, followed by why mobile-first, last-mile customer data is looked upon like a pot of gold by marketers around the world. We will then move on to why it is a must for a brand to build and monetize on customer data. And we'll wrap it up with some successful brands who actually do that. Let's face it, for as long as CMOs existed, there are dozens of great agencies behind them. Only in the recent few years have brands started to claw back an immense amount of marketing responsibility direct to the consumers, mostly due to market forces and not because they wanted to. A few decades ago, in the era when I was growing up, CMOs primarily focused on the personas building and brand building on media and print outlets, like the Wheaties with Mary Lou Retton and the ex-Bruce Jenner, Diet Pepsi with Michael J. Fox, Milk Does a Body Good, Fruity Pebbles with Flintstones, Mentos the Fresh Maker, and the list goes on. Many agencies contributed. Impressions and viewerships were king. In the 2000s, it quickly evolved into the ad tech and social media space, which Google and Facebook continue to dominate in, creating an immense amount of vanity metrics and unquantifiable ROI for the ad spend. It was the beginning of the click-throughs, likes, shares era, which to a large extent didn't focus beyond the acquiring of customers and users. And brands were all filling up new customers and users on a leaking pot. And the last decade, ad tech and agencies had to transform quickly with the pressure of unquantifiable ROI. Shifting demographics data, vanity metrics, and universal networks to centralized networks and quantifiable ROI. With the rise of mobile-first and digital economy, all of that slicing and dicing of data, AKA managing historical data, had to shift to data in motion and how we can proactively manage consumer behavior in real time, leading to monetization and revenue drivers to current state where COVID has shaken up how brands truly execute their marketing strategy. All trends still point to consumer data. We know because of the digital economy pushing everything mobile first. No brand today can survive without innovating outside of their core by underpinning customer experience with a fintech strategy. This causes an immensely gray competitive landscape across industries. Let me explain. Telcos are moving into the virtual banking. Commerce space, insurers want to build their own marketplace to replace once-a-year customer interactions during policy renewals with multiple touch points. Traditional retail conglomerates are moving into fintech and insurtech. And e-commerce is going into insurance and finance, all for the sake of driving more traction between their brands and their millions of customers. Today, many brands are still struggling to shift from being transient and transactional brands to creating meaningful relationships with their customers. This is where Perks comes in to reshape and redefine the next generation of customer and loyalty engagement, leading us to create our own category called lifestyle marketing. Loyalty cannot sit in the back office like an old ERP system run by finance and operations anymore. If companies are still operating that way, then they make way for challenger brands to disrupt. That's where interactive experiences associated with instantly gratifying user actions trump legacy, static loyalty programs. Loyalty programs are no longer moving the needle. Real-time, interactive, and rewarding engagement strategy led by the head of revenue, marketing, and/or digital officers is what most challenger brands have redirected their digital strategy towards. As we discussed, vanity metrics such as click-throughs, page views, likes, and shares have run its course. Many ad agencies, data management platforms quickly had to evolve in the last decade to work with centralized data. By integrating with core systems like CRMs and analytics engines, but that only worked well if you had the luxury of messing around with historical data. In the mobile-first world, where lifestyle marketplaces and super apps are coming out of the woodwork, data in motion, instant gratification, and the shift from static to dynamic engagements dominate the present-day marketer's playbook. You have to be able to monetize on real-time data. Data at rest is just as good as your data vault unable to be monetized. The significance of instant gratification and data in motion in the super app mobile-first economy is figuring out how to grow your customers' engagement rates, improve digital experiences, and thereby increasing their lifetime value. This dovetailed into how brands are all evolving to becoming lifestyle marketplaces and how innovating beyond your core and monetizing on consumer data is the biggest focal point, such as AirAsia and Singapore Airlines trying their strategy at becoming super apps. But let me share a case study with one of our telco clients, MyDigi in Malaysia, who services 11 million customers. 4 years ago, they had a bold ambition to become a mobile marketplace where customers log into their app. It's not only your static, boring, pay your bill, top up your plan features, but they have a rewards and products marketplace where their consumers can receive special privileges based on tiered membership and buy various products and services at special rates with their prepay account or linked choice of payments. They are able to build a new category of partnerships, add new services and offerings on the fly in the Perks platform, and populate that in the app on the fly, and then leverage the gamified campaign management capability to drive user engagement behavior, whether it's a campaign to drive spend, referrals or net new user acquisition, or other non-transactional behavior that's relevant to their business KPIs. The experience with users getting instantly gratified and allowing them to experience the rewarding behavior at the last mile, online or offline, in real time, or wherever and whenever they want, was a game changer. We see this with banks, retailers, insurance, fintechs, insurtechs, and other digital natives. Everyone is looking at how to innovate outside of their core to drive more customer touchpoints their traditional business models didn't allow. Direct to consumers is no longer enough. Revenue cannot grow at sub 5% year over year anymore, nor can you sink millions or billions in some instances purely on chasing your own tail on customer acquisitions. There has to be a way to become a super app of sort, bolting on net new revenue streams and partnerships to monetize on your millions of customers in your database. With all of that said, it's not such an easy journey for the CMOs. They are pressured to deliver real ROI and at the same time, embrace the digital economy to learn new skills and be more technically savvy. Many large brand CMOs give up on pushing that boulder uphill, where they don't align with the CEO strategy, and they get very little room to disrupt internal practices. Then you have the digital native CMOs where they were hired from legacy brands and cannot catch up to fast-moving digital mindsets in addition to being hands-on. After a few more hiring mistakes, digital natives end up promoting younger, technically savvy marketers and those who left larger brands because they still have plenty to offer and have evolved rapidly but can only exercise their skills and thought leadership with challenger and more disruptive brands. A telco client of ours, StarHub, who has won 10 mobile creative marketing and innovation awards in December in collaboration with Perks lifestyle marketing platform. They did this by gamifying user experiences and rewarding them for their app engagements. They have leveraged their core first to drive engagement as a priority. Within the first 6 months and when COVID hit at its peak in Singapore, they increased their monthly active users by 27%, customer retention by 6%, customer acquisition by 11%, and increased their NPS score by 7 points for their Big Hello Change campaign initiative. Another example is a global banking client who used Perks to drive banking transactions worth $258 million in 2019 and $34 million in the first 60 days of 2020. The secret sauce was their shift from static, high-friction experience to dynamic, gamified engagements that instantly rewarded their customers' actions with personalized rewards. They acquired 225% unique customers and drove over 550,000 customer actions. In summary, staying relevant depends on the following steps and how you deploy them to win over the mobile-first consumer. First, lead with engagement, last-mile engagement to be precise, and not traditional static loyalty programs, because 70% of static loyalty programs fail within the first 2 years. Second, lead with data in motion and not data at rest. When your customers don't even have 8 seconds attention span, why are you taking 3 months to engage them? Third, instantly gratify your customers' actions. Fourth, innovate outside of your core. You need more than just price wars and thin margins. And your customers need more than just core banking, core telco services, and core insurance, as an example. Fifth, make it interactive and social by gamifying the campaign experience. Lastly, my sixth point, implement hyper-personalization, because most brands are still trying to figure out how to recover their millions of dollars of data science investments. Many still have not monetized direct to consumers with all of the personalization and AI investments. Begin with the first 5 steps. Understand your customers' desires and actions, and then leverage your recommendation and predictive solutions to optimize your customers' data. Amazon.com themselves did not launch their personalization engine from the very beginning of selling books. It was after years of learning customer and merchant behavior that they fine-tuned their personalization capabilities. Thank you very much, and let me hand you over to Anindya Datta, Chairman of Mobilewala.
Hello, everyone. Excited to be part of the AWS Summit again. So intelligence is a byproduct of data. So marketers have used data since the dawn of formal marketing in organizations, roughly 70 years ago. From traditional assets like surveys and the census, to modern digital artifacts like cookies and apps, the value of data in marketing is universally recognized. So marketers avail data from 3 broad types of sources, referred to as first, second, and third party. First-party data is the data your organization natively possesses, such as purchase data for a retailer or customer data for a rideshare company. Clearly, this is the backbone of your data strategy. Second-party data is data acquired from another brand, effectively the first-party data of another company. Given the highly strategic nature of a company's first-party data, useful second-party data is notoriously hard to come by. Finally, third-party data refers to data acquired from general data vendors, such as the consumer data that enriches a company's first-party customer data. So marketers increasingly use all 3 asset types, but with each class of data comes its pros and cons. While first-party data is invaluable, it is restricted to a firm's limited observational purview, its walled garden, if you will, not completely satisfying the marketer's quest to build 360-degree portraits of our customers. Second-party data, as explained above, is very hard to procure. As a result, marketers increasingly look to acquire third-party data to fill in the gaps. The value of third-party data comes from its breadth. It can dramatically increase the richness of consumer portraits. So in this talk, we will examine 3 very foundational marketing activities, all of which are driven by data and intelligence: enrichment, predictive modeling, and audience segmentation. Let's look at each in turn. Enrichment first. The need to enrich enterprise data is driven by the limited visibility of first-party data. Enterprises typically only see consumers when they interact with channels that are company-owned and operated, such as the company's store, website, or app. But building meaningful and actionable consumer intelligence requires visibility into the consumer's behavior outside of the enterprise. So this is achieved via enriching first-party data with third-party data. So consider, for example, a consumer who walks into a physical store, browses, and then leaves. So no trace of this interaction remains, as he didn't purchase anything. Yet, If the same consumer buys a product subsequent to the company's website much later, valuable information about his path of purchase is lost. With this context, the benefits of enrichment are easy to articulate. It allows you to build comprehensive portraits of the consumers that are critical for your business. For those that you already know, such as your own customers, enrichment can add valuable intelligence that is not visible to you directly, such as connecting atomic interaction traces to reveal paths to purchase. Equally importantly, enrichment can reveal those consumers that you are not aware of and are not your current customers, and enable you to create strategies to prospect them. Another upcoming use of data enrichment is in driving powerful predictive modeling. We will talk about this separately in this presentation. We now present an enrichment case study from one of our clients. So the client is a large multi-channel apparel retailer, spending over $40 million annually on digital advertising. A significant segment of their budget is spent on driving both in-store and online interaction. So their first-party data, which is basically the campaign reports they receive from their agency, are consistently missing answers to two key questions. First, who was receiving the millions of impressions they were buying? And by who, we mean both the identities of the recipients and the portraits. The campaign reports from their agency were generic and not actionably granular. The long-term behavior of the recipients were also not visible to the retailer. The attribution partners only provided short-term results. For instance, if a purchase occurred a month after receiving the ad, this would never be captured. So we enriched their data with a uniform identity scheme and detailed portraits of each consumer that the company touched, either via an ad impression or an online or offline visit. As a result, the company is no longer captive to short-term myopic visibility, and by understanding long-term interaction dynamics with consumers, the retailer was able to design ad strategies that drove substantive improvements in both online and offline interaction and improved the ROI of digital spend by over 250%. Now we turn our attention to the second area where consumer intelligence enhances marketing effectiveness: predictive modeling using machine learning and AI. The audience of this webinar is well aware of how AI permeates our daily lives, from face recognition to self-driving automobiles. A particularly fruitful application of AI is in marketing to predict consumer behavior and drive strategies that predict outcomes that the enterprise seeks. We now provide 3 examples of how predictive modeling is used in marketing scenarios today. First is predicting customer churn to inform retention actions that are widely used in virtually every consumer subscription business. Another widely used modeling exercise is propensity modeling, yielding propensities or the likelihood that a prospect will find your product or service attractive, right? Such propensities increasingly drive acquisition strategies. Finally, we draw your attention to lifetime value or LTV modeling, which predicts the monetary value of a customer to your business, impacting a variety of customer touch strategies from acquisition, retention to cross and upsell. LTV prediction allows you to spend your marketing dollars going after those prospects who are likely to be of value to you while avoiding those that are unlikely to be of value. Interestingly, in each of these scenarios, a consumer attribute that is deeply impactful is the household of the consumer. Right? The characteristic of a household to which a consumer belongs is predictive of a bunch of things of his behavior. Right? From the shampoo or the smartphone handset he uses, to how likely she is to switch from telco carrier A to telco carrier B. As a result, a key data that enterprises often look to acquire is household information about their customers or prospects. Let's follow up this section with a case study. To illustrate predictive modeling, the use case that we will use is high-value customer identification and modeling. It turns out that in most direct-to-consumer companies, the distribution of revenue is not uniform across its entire customer base. Rather, it tends to be highly skewed a relatively small percentage of customers account for an outsized fraction of revenue. Right? Clearly, when these businesses acquire customers, they would rather acquire those who will become high value rather than those prospects who probably will not spend much. Right? So we worked with one of the largest home food delivery companies in the world on high value customer prediction. Traditionally, only 12% of this company's customer base was high value or HVC, accounting for nearly 65% of their revenue. And the company was performing HVC modeling to both drive acquisition strategy as well as making sure the existing HVC customers didn't churn. After our engagement, which included significantly enriching their dataset with features they natively didn't have, the fraction of HVC customers, fraction of high-value customers now stand at 14%. While an uptick from 12 to 14% might not sound impressive, sort of when you kind of see it first, I mean, do know that this represents a 17% increase in high-value customers, resulting in significantly increased GMV per customer, as well as substantively higher ROI on acquisition spend. Now we discuss the final way in this presentation in which data and intelligence impacts marketing, audience segmentation. So audience segmentation refers to classifying consumers into buckets, where each bucket represents a well-defined interest class, customers who are similar in some way, males, females, what have you. One of the key reasons to segment consumers is to drive effective advertising. Basically, reach the same group of reach the consumers in a segment with a uniform message, asking them to act a certain way. So I will present to you a case study that I already presented earlier, but in a slightly different context. Earlier, we spoke about how data enrichment helps this large apparel retailer have better ROI on digital spend. Here, I will draw your attention to the underlying root cause of this increase. Effectively, by observing how consumers reacted to advertising, we were able to group them into specific buckets. For instance, we saw that 45 to 54-year-old males who were fitness inclined were more likely than others to visit a physical store before they completed an online purchase. This allowed the retailer to generate touch strategies for this segment that first encourage this group to visit a store before urging online interaction. Such granular strategies for various segments allowed enhanced business outcomes to occur. So I wanted to end this session by giving you a quick overview of Mobile Wallet. So we are a consumer data and intelligence company that provides enterprises with data and intelligence artifacts that help them understand their customers better and build powerful predictive models that drive enhanced business outcomes. Our clients are primarily business-to-consumer companies. The large B2B enterprises also acquire our data as a raw material for building their products. So that brings me to the end of my presentation, folks. Again, thanks to AWS for inviting me to be part of this session, and look forward to seeing you again at the next summit.
In 2020, CMOs have found themselves faced with building resilience into their organizations and address immediate needs, but also to ensure sustainable growth into an uncertain future. Does the company need a CMO to be a customer champion? A leader who leans into providing customer with data, analytics, and insights that enable their business growth? Or a growth driver for the business, relentlessly focused on delivering sustainable growth for the organization with campaigns that increase customer acquisition and drive cohort growth? The CMO, as an innovation catalyst, is focused on building breakthrough customer offerings and experimenting with new technology, data, and techniques. For some, CMOs should be capability builders, developing robust marketing capabilities and hiring great teams with broad expertise in data and analytics. Finally, many expect their CMOs to be chief storytellers, creating narratives that promote the brand, relating the company's position and relevance through compelling content, or maybe a blend of some. You decide. You join the summit to learn, and you can keep learning beyond this event. Transform your business with resources from AWS Training and Certification. For more information, visit aws.training/enterprise and see what resources are available to help you achieve your goals. And finally, please spare a few minutes to submit your feedback. on the session survey so that we can take key learnings to improve our future summit experiences. Thank you for being with us this afternoon.